C'est bon? Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm very happy to welcome you in this magnificent auditorium of the World Intellectual Property Organization for the launching of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace. The panel had a very productive meeting yesterday next to the Rhone River and the Lake Geneva. It will continue its deliberations and consultations later this afternoon. My name is Mirjana Spoljaric, and I'm the head of the United Nations and International Organizations Division in the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs. I am honored and delighted to have been given the opportunity to moderate the high-level segment of the panel's official launch this morning. This launch of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace will proceed as follows. His Excellency, Director General of the United Nations Office at Geneva, Mr. Michael Møller, will pronounce a few welcome words. This welcome will be followed by the opening speech of Federal Councillor Didier Burkhalter, Head of the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs. Subsequently, His Excellency Michel Jarraud, Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization and Chair of the UN Water, will have the opportunity to pronounce his welcoming remarks. The floor will then be open for the statements of the distinguished representatives of the co-convening countries of this initiative. Following these interventions of delegations, I will ask the chair of the high-level panel, President Danilo Turk, his co-chairs and the distinguished panelists to introduce themselves on the podium. But before giving the floor to Director General Michael Møller, I wish to introduce Mich Gerber, a renowned Swiss musician and ferryman on the Aare River. Mich will accompany us throughout this morning with some musical interludes. His role in this initiative will be to compose a water symphony, which will be completed at the end of the panel's mandate after 2 years. Like a flowing river, his musical piece will be developed hand in hand with the panel's work. Mich, you have the floor. Thank you very much, Mich, for this very impressive interlude. You've just proven that not only water and peace, but also water and music and peace and music walk hand in hand together. Thank you very much. And I now have the pleasure to give the floor to Director General of the United Nations Office at Geneva, Mr. Michel Møller, who will pronounce a few welcome words. Michael.
Thank you. Federal Councillor Burkhalter, Secretary General Jarraud, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Water is essential for life and for sustainable development, and so is peace. It's a great pleasure to be here today for the launching of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace, two essential elements for the well-being of humankind and for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Mes plus sincères remerciements au gouvernement suisse et au pôle de Genève pour l'organisation de cet important événement. Permettez-moi également de féliciter la Suisse pour son engagement de longue durée dans le domaine de l'eau à travers de nombreux partenariats avec les Nations Unies et les organisations non gouvernementales et sa promotion continue de l'eau comme un instrument de paix et de coopération. The launch of this initiative is very timely. Firstly, it happens at the end of the International Decade for Action, Water for Life, 2005-2015. Secondly, today's launch comes shortly after the adoption of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The universal, integrated and transformative vision for a better world of this new framework will guide us all for the next 15 years, and both water and peace play a key role in this new agenda. Finally, launching today's event at the beginning of the Geneva Peace Week is a strong message and symbol for stronger interactive engagement between our water and peace communities. Let me reflect for a moment on the new Agenda for Sustainable Development. We now have a dedicated goal on water and sanitation, SDG 6, that sets out to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. It is important to note that SDG 6 goes beyond the focus of the Millennium Development Goals on drinking water and basic sanitation to now cover the entire water cycle, including the management of water, wastewater and ecosystem resources. The water goal characterizes in a nutshell the holistic, inclusive, cross-sectorial and innovative nature of the 2030 Agenda. Water is now put at the very core of sustainable development with a horizontal and vertical approach. The sustainable management of water is recognized as a key factor for success of other SDGs, as it can contribute to poverty reduction, protection of human rights, disaster risk reduction, political stability, and many others. Peace, the other focus of today's discussion, beside water, is also crucial in the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Goal 16 of the SDGs is dedicated to peace, more specifically to the promotion of peaceful and inclusive societies for sustainable development, the provision of access to justice for all, and building effective, accountable institutions at all levels. Water and peace go hand in hand. Tailor-made, intelligent and innovative policies linking water and peace can indeed contribute to the prevention and solution of conflicts. Strengthening our efforts in this area is more urgent than ever. We all know that numerous conflicts about water are either about to begin or escalate. International Geneva is a well-established and recognized hub for peace and has an important role to play in the implementation of the SDGs. Concerning water, Geneva is incredibly well endowed with numerous UN agencies, international organizations, NGOs, academic institutions, and think tanks. This presence is a unique chance to capitalize the local know-how and expertise that will surely serve, nourish, and enrich the work and future success of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace. I wish to congratulate once more Switzerland, all the co-convening countries, and the Geneva Water Hub for the establishment of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace that will work on developing a set of proposals aiming to strengthen the global architecture to prevent and resolve water-related tensions and conflicts and facilitate the use of water for building peace. I wish the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace and its distinguished members every success, and I look forward to hearing about the outcomes of its work. May your discussions have the desired catalyzing effect on the water community, linking it with a strong peace community, and ultimately may they contribute to transforming water from a source of potential crisis into an instrument of peace. I thank you.
I thank the Director General for his valuable support in this initiative, and we look forward to cooperating with you. I have the distinct pleasure now to announce Federal Councillor Didier Burkhalter for his opening speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear panelists and dear friends, I would like to thank you all for your presence as we launch this new panel. But first of all, after this weekend of pain and of suffering in Paris, I would like to ask all of you to stand up and to observe a minute of silence. Thank you. It was in the memory of the victims of the terrorist attacks in Paris, but also in the last days in Beirut, in Baghdad, in Sinai, and other locations in the world. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we started this ceremony just beforehand with a captivating piece of music. Mick Gerber, thank you very much. Mick Gerber is a musician, he's a composer, but he's also a ferryman on the Are River that runs through our main city, Bern. He creates and he also carries people across the river. This really makes him a fitting symbol for our initiative. The panel we are launching should both create and convey. It will hopefully come up with stimulating recommendations, but it will also ferry ideas and act as a go-between. Why is Switzerland launching this panel? Two reasons. Given the multitude of crises and conflict in our multipolar world, Switzerland is stepping up its effort to advance peace and security. Switzerland is stepping these efforts, and within this overall effort, we attach strategic importance to the issue of water. Water comes from a source. It can also be a source of tension, of instability. It can be related to major security risks and issues. Water can also be a powerful instrument of cooperation. It is this notion of water as a driver for development, peace and security that is very much at the heart of Swiss diplomacy and also of this panel. Water is an indispensable resource for public health, food security, energy, ecosystems. It is at the core of sustainable development. Today, this vital resource is facing unprecedented challenges. While the world population grew fourfold in the 20th century, freshwater withdrawals grew 9 times. Global water demand is projected to increase by another 55% by 2030. The world is projected to face a 40% global water deficit if the current trends continue. We are running out of enough water. Climate change adds to the water supply challenge by increasing the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Moreover, water resources are threatened by pollution. But water is not just a development issue, it is also a security issue. Competition over water can cause or fuel conflicts. Bad governance exacerbates the risk of water-related conflict as it impacts on variation in the distribution and availability of water resources. Conflicts over water have already occurred in different parts of the world. Water has even been used as a weapon of war, most notably in the conflict in Syria and Iraq. In Syria, half of the production capacity of the country's water infrastructure has been lost as a result of war damage. The ICRC has documented numerous cases where water supply for major cities such as Damascus or Aleppo have been cut deliberately by warring parties. In Iraq, violent extremist organizations have taken control of dams and other water resources and threatened to cut supply or release excess supply to flood the downstream areas. Such methods of warfare are a blatant violation of international humanitarian law. So the challenges and risks associated with water are indisputable. Water security is one of the major challenges that we and the future generations are going to have to contend with. That is why it is so important that we work together, that we work to transform water from a source of crisis into an instrument for peace. The potential for cooperation is evident. Let me illustrate this again with a very peculiar example from the Syrian war, a context where we are seeing much of the worst of what humans are capable. In a watershed a few hundred kilometers from Damascus, a huge irrigation scheme is occupied by opposing factions. There is a fighting along various unstable front lines all over the irrigation fields. Remarkably, we have watched opponents who are fighting during the day sit together and negotiate a fair quota of water in the evening. This is, of course, no model, ladies and gentlemen, for how we envisage water cooperation, but the Syria example indicates that cooperative water solutions can be found in the most difficult situation. Many other examples have demonstrated the power of water as an instrument of peace. One is the Senegal River Basin Organization. This is an acclaimed example of good practice in transboundary water cooperation linking 4 West African countries, Senegal, Mauritania, Mali and Guinea. In the 80s, it was the only functioning channel of communication between 2 of its member countries when they were at war. The Senegal River Basin Organization controls all water infrastructure in the 4 countries, which is really quite a remarkable model. It is this belief in the power of water cooperation that has guided my country, Switzerland, throughout the 4 decades of our engagement in the field of water. It is the same belief that has prompted us to develop lines of action on water and security this year. These lines of action guide the work of the Swiss Foreign Ministry in this field. They are also meant to inspire others to work on water and security, which is why we published them, and there are copies available in this room. Our lines of action make the case for a comprehensive approach when addressing the nexus of water and security. Rendering water an effective source of cooperation and security requires a broad range of tools, from development cooperation and humanitarian aid instruments to peace promotion and also international law. The lines of action also map the bilateral and regional avenues for our work on water and security, and they outline how we work in multilateral processes and with the private sector to achieve the best possible result together. One of our main activities under these lines of action is Switzerland's engagement in blue diplomacy. We have become particularly active in the development of new mechanisms to negotiate, to coordinate water policy that can promote diplomacy regarding surface water and groundwater in Africa, in Asia and Latin America. Switzerland is supporting efforts to strengthen good governance and management mechanism in 17 transboundary basins, river basins worldwide. Convening this high-level panel that we are launching today is another milestone in Switzerland's engagement for water and peace. The task of this panel will be to develop a set of proposals aimed at strengthening the global architecture to prevent and resolve water-related conflicts and to facilitate the use of water for building peace. So, an instrument for peace through water. There are many facets to this issue. Among the panel tasks, we propose that it identify economic and financial mechanisms to incentivize multi-sectoral and transboundary water cooperation. We propose also that it examine how to prevent and cope with water-related conflict, that it promote effective implementation of the global water conventions, and that it promote as well tangible best practices in water cooperation and basin level. While independent, this panel will work very closely with the United Nations. We are very happy that UN Water has agreed to become an observer. Thank you very much for your presence. UN Water will play a central part in relaying knowledge to the panel and helping shape its recommendations. The panel will also build on the experience of the wealth of actors here in international Geneva who are working on water-related issues. We will want to make full use of Geneva as an international hub for water diplomacy. In developing the concept of blue peace, Switzerland has worked closely with the Strategic Foresight Group, an international think tank based in India. In our journey ahead, I would encourage the panel to continue to engage with a broad range of actors, including governments, private sector, civil society, international financial institution, and academia. This really should become a common enterprise, a common endeavor. The panel's mandate will last 2 years. Toward the end of 2016, Switzerland, together with the co-convening countries, will disseminate the panel's preliminary findings. In 2017, at the end of the panel's work, Switzerland and the co-convening countries will disseminate the final recommendations of the panel. Let me express my deep gratitude to the distinguished panelists for agreeing to take part in this initiative, to join us in this common enterprise, to work on this enterprise. Thank you for your dedication. I would especially like to thank Dr. Danilo Turk, former President of the Republic of Slovenia, who agreed to chair the panel, a decision endorsed by the panel at its first session yesterday. When I look at the list of panelists, two words come to mind: excellence and also diversity. Co-convening countries nominated 15 prominent figures. There is a strong geographical mix with panelists from all regions of the world, and there is a good balance between politics, political experience, and high-level academic knowledge around the issue of water and security. We have panelists with backgrounds in government, in international organizations, in academia, in the private sector. Together they combine outstanding experience and expertise in politics, strategic and geopolitical issues related to water, as well as in hydraulics, water, sanitation, energy, environment, and the management of land, coastal, and natural resources. I consider it essential, ladies and gentlemen, that the work of this panel and its ideas and recommendations have close connections at the political level. This is the ferryman role of the panel. Switzerland is committed to facilitating this kind of interaction and organizing the relevant consultation and debates in the margins of fora, such as the UN General Assembly and the World Economic Forum. I also encourage governments of co-convening countries to support the panel in this way, and I invite other countries as well to join our common endeavor and participate in our group of friends. I personally am ready and very motivated to support the panel, to advocate for its work, to open doors, and to spread its ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, Mick Gerber will begin to compose a Water for Peace symphony today. This artwork will be co-created step by different musicians from around the world in parallel to the work done by the global high-level panel on water and peace. The symphony will be completed to coincide with the presentation of the panel's results. It is intended to become a powerful symbol for our common efforts to make water a source of cooperation and peace. Let me finish by thanking you once more, thanking you all for joining us today. Thank you to the panelists, thank you to their supporters and their enablers, thank you to the creators, and thank you to the ferryman. Thank you very much.
I thank Federal Councillor Didier Burkhalter for his opening speech, and now have the pleasure to call to the floor Michel Jarraud, Chief of UN Water and Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organizations, and a constant friend of this initiative.
Merci. Monsieur le conseiller fédéral, Monsieur Didier Burkhalter, Monsieur le directeur général de l'Office des Nations Unies à Genève, Monsieur Michel Møller, Mesdames, Messieurs les ministres, Mesdames, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, chers collègues et chers amis de l'eau. C'est un honneur, mais c'est aussi un plaisir pour moi d'être ici aujourd'hui. Il s'agit d'une initiative qui est particulièrement importante et qui ne pouvait pas se tenir à un meilleur moment. Vous l'avez rappelé, Monsieur le conseiller fédéral, les événements tragiques de ces derniers jours, de ces dernières semaines, nous montrent qu'il est important de combiner toutes les initiatives qui peuvent contribuer à la paix et de toutes les manières possibles. La Semaine de la paix de Genève, c'est une excellente occasion pour nous tous ici de nous rappeler que chacune et chacun ont un rôle à jouer, que chaque acteur, chaque institution, chaque gouvernement, chaque pays a un rôle à jouer. Et je voudrais donc féliciter les initiateurs de ce panel parce que ce que vous avez l'intention de faire est absolument remarquable. Mettre ensemble l'expertise d'experts, de personnes éminentes de tous les backgrounds, de tous les pays, contribuera sans aucun doute à faire avancer quelques-unes des questions les plus difficiles qui se posent à nous quand il s'agit de l'eau, et en particulier la question de la paix et de la coopération. Et vous avez donné des exemples particulièrement frappants, Monsieur le conseiller fédéral. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, creating the conditions to allow peace to hold and flourish is indeed at the core of the United Nations mission. And on behalf of UN Water, I'm therefore very happy to confirm our contribution to the panel as an observer, offering the consolidated voice and expertise of the UN system. Dear friends, this September was historical with the adoption of the 2030 Agenda. The Agenda does not only take action for people, for the planet, for prosperity, but it also seeks to strengthen universal peace, something I believe, I'm convinced, we all find essential in today's world where war and conflict seem more widespread than ever, unfortunately. When it comes to water and peace, there's always been competition over water. However, water resources have rarely been the sole source of conflict. But, for example, inequitable access to water supply can indeed cause tension. It can indeed spark violence, and it can indeed intensify injustices. This is why it is important to show that water also offers opportunities for cooperation, for collaboration, and for addressing various challenges. This is something we have seen gaining traction in the global political agenda. In August last year, the 1997 New York Water Courses Convention entered into force, and the 1992 Helsinki Water Convention now provides an almost global framework on freshwater and transboundary cooperation. In addition, in 2013. The International Year of Water Cooperation provided further opportunities to bring these issues to the attention of the public and to politicians. This year, during the development of the 2030 Agenda, we have had the unprecedented opportunity to ensure that there is an understanding around water and sanitation capacity to not only connect all other areas of sustainable development, but underpin and transform sustainable development itself. We have seen a tremendous amount of high-level international events that touch upon water and sanitation at the highest levels. At many of these, the International Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in Sendai, the high-level interactive dialogue convened by the President of the General Assembly in New York, the official World Water Day celebration in Delhi, and many other side events around the day at UN headquarters, we have increasingly been met with agreement, understanding, and support, and which we expect to continue. Through these events and our interaction with millions of other people around the world, through, for example, social media campaigns and National World Water Day celebration, I can honestly say that there truly is a growing recognition around the world of the interconnectedness of water, sanitation, and developmental issues, including peace. Dear friends and colleagues, the 2030 Agenda is daunting in its scale and scope. However, we are not allowed to fail, because the future of our and many generations to come depends on this. In this new agenda, water has a central role, which can and should be used to build peace and cooperation. The establishment of this panel is indeed a testimony to that cause. So I wish the panel great success and would like to once again reiterate UN Water's full support to this initiative. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Voilà.
Merci, Monsieur Jarraud, pour votre soutien. Following his welcoming remarks, we will now proceed with another short musical interlude by Mick Gerbers before we proceed to the statements of the distinguished delegates. Thank you. Thank you, Mich, for another wonderful piece of music. I was taken away for a minute looking at the pictures and listening to the music, and I realized that not only water is a scarce resource, pure drinkable water is an even scarcer resource, and the equitable distribution of pure water is probably one of the biggest challenges of our time. So the Geneva High-Level Panel on Water and Peace is not only a Swiss, it is a collective initiative of 15 countries from different world's regions committed to global water issues. I now wish to invite heads of delegations of the co-convening countries to approach the podium and make their statements. I also ask every delegate to kindly limit their intervention to 3 minutes. I will start by giving the floor to His Excellency Dr. Kwaku Agyemang-Mensah, Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing of the Republic of Ghana. Minister, you have the floor.
Chair, UN Water, Special Envoy for Water, Water Sector Experts, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely delighted to be part of this august gathering to witness the launch of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace. I recall that in May of this year, the government of Switzerland, in collaboration with the Geneva Water Hub and co-convening countries, held a 2-day preparatory meeting to brainstorm and map out strategies towards the establishment of a global high-level panel for water and peace to deal with water-related challenges that confront us at the national, regional, and global levels. Today, we are witnesses to the smooth takeoff of this initiative. Ghana believes that the enthusiasm displayed today by countries gathered here to tackle the world's growing water problems is a major step in the right direction. Ghana is a riparian country with at least 70% of its land area drained by a number of international river basins, including the Volta, Tano, and Bia, which are shared with our neighboring countries. Ghana has always taken the position of cooperation and continues to pursue consultations to promote the peaceful management and development of these transboundary rivers for the mutual benefit of all the countries concerned. Cognizant of the foregoing, it is our fervent hope that through this Water and Peace initiative, we will explore new climate-resilient opportunities and proffer innovative funding mechanisms to implement these investments, as well as other planned programs and commitments. The aim is to improve the livelihoods of the entire citizens, the ecological health of our water resources, and indeed the overall socio-economic development of Ghana and that of the other riparian states. For us in Ghana, meeting the expectations and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian in the water sector is paramount. Water is central to life and a commodity that is too serious to be left in the hands of non-state actors alone. It therefore requires the concerted efforts of governments, development partners, the private sector, and civil society organizations to adequately tackle the issue of water. Mr. Chairman, our collective desire and commitment to reach a common ground, to create the institutional and legal framework to offer durable solutions to challenges posed by dwindling water resources in the face of ever-growing populations is the way to go, and Ghana is proud to be associated with this epochal launch. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the Minister and representative of Ghana for his intervention and shall now pass the floor to His Excellency Mansour Faye, who is here in Geneva as a panelist, but also representing his country as Minister of Water Hydraulics of Senegal.
M. Didier, Burkhalter, ministre fédéral des Affaires étrangères de la Suisse, M. Michel Møller, directeur général de l'Office des Nations Unies à Genève, M. Walsleke Sindi, président de Strategic Foresight Group, Mesdames et Messieurs les panélistes, je voudrais féliciter le gouvernement suisse à l'origine de cette importante initiative et apporter aux panélistes les encouragements du président du Sénégal, son Excellence M. Macky Sall. À mes qualités de ministre de tutelle de l'Organisation pour la mise en valeur du fleuve Sénégal, de celle du fleuve Gambie et de président de la conférence des ministres africains chargés de l'eau et de l'assainissement, c'est évidemment avec un intérêt tout particulier que je participe à ce panel de haut niveau sur l'eau et la paix. Je voudrais vous livrer notre expérience dans le cadre de l'OMVS, qui a aujourd'hui 40 ans d'existence et dont le credo demeure au développement et paix. L'OMVS est une organisation sous-régionale regroupant 4 pays frontaliers, la Guinée, le Mali, la Mauritanie et le Sénégal, partageant un même cours d'eau, le fleuve Sénégal. Sa vocation est de promouvoir un développement durable à travers la maîtrise et la valorisation des eaux du fleuve. À sa création en 1972, la vision des pères fondateurs était de bâtir une organisation de paix pour la mise en valeur des ressources du bassin du fleuve Sénégal. 3 principes fondamentaux, à savoir la solidarité, l'égalité et l'équité, régissent toute la vie de l'organisation. Conscient du caractère partagé des eaux du fleuve Sénégal et l'impératif de maîtriser les ressources en eau, les États riverains ont convenu de déclarer le fleuve Sénégal cours d'eau international. Cet acte fait des ressources en eau du fleuve un bien commun régi par des règles acceptées par toutes les parties prenantes, les mettant ainsi à l'abri des conflits éventuels. Ces règles sont constituées de conventions internationales signées entre les États et ratifiées par leur Parlement. Le seul droit reconnu est le droit d'usage. Sur ce droit d'usage, des priorités ont été dégagées en cas de rareté et de compétition, à savoir les besoins d'alimentation en eau potable et de maintien de l'équilibre écologique. La répartition entre les autres usages, agriculture, énergie, transport fluvial, se faisant sur une base consensuelle. Pour prévenir toute incompréhension ou différend entre les États, une charte des eaux inspirée des principes de la Convention des Nations Unies sur les eaux internationales de 1997 est venue compléter en 2002 le dispositif juridique de l'OMVS. Cette charte précise les modalités de gestion des ouvrages et d'allocation des ressources. Des mécanismes et organes de concertation tels que, par exemple, la Commission permanente des eaux sont mis en place et fonctionnent régulièrement. La recherche de consensus est la règle, et ce, quelle que soit l'urgence et l'importance des questions discutées. Toutes les infrastructures structurantes, barrages, centrales hydroélectriques, sont des propriétés communes et indivisibles des États, quelle que soit leur situation géographique. Leur financement est assuré solidairement par les 4 pays et l'endettement par pays est fonction des bénéfices ou avantages attendus. Le soutien de la communauté internationale a permis la réalisation des 10 programmes et conforté ainsi la crédibilité de l'organisation. Sur le plan politique, la volonté des chefs d'État et la tenue régulière et de manière tournante dans les pays des réunions des différents organes d'orientation et de décision, conférence des chefs d'État, conseil des ministres, ont permis d'adapter en permanence l'organisation aux exigences de gestion intégrée des ressources en eau et d'entretenir une coopération sous-régionale soutenue. Ce système a permis, après plus de 40 ans d'existence, d'obtenir de bons résultats en termes de réalisation d'infrastructures, de prévention de conflits, de stabilité et de lutte contre la pauvreté. Le maintien d'un climat de transparence et de bon entendement, de dialogue et de respect mutuel dans l'utilisation des ressources en eau a été un facteur décisif. En espérant que ce bref survol de l'OMVS permettra de tirer quelques principes qui alimenteront nos débats, je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
I thank the Minister and representative of Senegal and now have the pleasure to ask Her Excellency Charafat Afila, Minister Delegate to the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Water and Environment in charge of water of the Kingdom of Morocco. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Monsieur le conseiller fédéral, Monsieur le directeur général des Nations Unies à Genève, Mesdames et Messieurs, Je suis honorée aujourd'hui de prendre part à ce panel de haut niveau, alors que l'émotion est encore vive suite aux attentats barbares et violents qui ont touché la France et particulièrement Paris, et que nous condamnons vivement. J'aimerais aussi dire que la meilleure réponse à ces actes est de rester fidèle aux valeurs de l'humanité, de la démocratie, de la paix et de la solidarité. Je remercie le département fédéral des affaires étrangères de la Confédération suisse d'avoir organisé ce débat et de hisser le niveau de discussion et de débat autour de la problématique qui est cruciale et importante, qui est l'eau, à un niveau politique élevé, alors qu'elle était toujours prisonnière d'une approche techniciste, simpliste. Merci, Monsieur le Conseiller fédéral. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, les grandes civilisations qui ont marqué l'histoire de l'humanité ont vu le jour à proximité de l'eau et au bord des grands fleuves. Le Maroc n'a pas dérogé à cette règle. Ses plus grandes villes ont été bâties dans les régions où l'eau est abondante et facilement maîtrisable. L'eau constitue, comme vous le savez, un facteur clé de la stabilité des nations et du maintien du paix et de la sérénité entre les peuples. L'eau possède par ailleurs des valeurs immatérielles à travers sa dimension culturelle, historique et spirituelle. Mais il faut se rendre à l'évidence que la solidarité, qui était toujours la règle principale de partage de l'eau, commence à se perdre peu à peu. Une tendance marquée vers l'individualisme s'installe partout suite à des pressions démographiques accrues. Dans ce contexte, nous enregistrons avec satisfaction que l'eau fasse partie des 17 objectifs de développement durable qui ont été adoptés récemment par les Nations Unies au mois de septembre. Nous croisons également les doigts à ce qu'ils en fassent de même lors du prochain rendez-vous mondial qui est la COP21 et que les négociations climatiques prennent en charge la question de l'eau dans le déroulement de cet événement mondial, car l'eau, bel et bien le premier secteur qui est touché par les changements climatiques. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, au Maroc, bien que les ressources hydriques soient à l'intérieur du pays et que ne soient pas partagées avec les pays voisins, l'eau, notre pays a développé depuis des décennies une politique hydrique ambitieuse en matière de gestion de ses ressources. Les gouvernements qui se sont succédés ont fait de la démocratisation de l'accès à l'eau leur cheval de bataille. Une panoplie de mesures constitutionnelles, institutionnelles et réglementaires ont été prises pour assurer un approvisionnement en eau d'une manière durable et équitable. Au niveau de la constitutionnelle, la nouvelle constitution qui a été adoptée en 2011 a consacré un article au droit à l'accès à l'eau commun et un droit comme droit prioritaire. L'arsenal juridique et réglementaire mis en place a également prévu des outils destinés à assurer une utilisation équitable et durable à l'eau. Nous disposons également d'une loi sur l'eau qui permet d'assurer un partage équitable, solidaire, d'une façon concertée à l'échelle des bassins. Sur le plan tarifaire, nous avons également instauré une tarification qui permet aux couches sociales et défavorisées un accès à l'eau à des coûts abordables. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, la gestion durable de l'eau et la préservation de la paix supposent un accès équitable à l'eau. De même que l'accès équitable à l'eau exige un minimum de solidarité entre les différents usagers, les différentes générations, les zones amont et aval des bassins et les pays, en particulier ceux qui exploitent les ressources partagées. La question aujourd'hui est de voir comment rétablir cette solidarité. La communauté mondiale de l'eau est appelée à œuvrer pour transformer les situations de conflit en véritables situations d'épanouissement et de développement de l'être humain. Cette responsabilité n'incombe pas uniquement aux pays concernés, mais interpelle également les pays riches pour qu'ils puissent transférer leur savoir-faire, leur soutien et leur appui aux pays qui sont concernés par ces conflits. Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, ce panel de haut niveau qui réunit aujourd'hui les militants de la cause magnifique de l'eau, je suis sûre et certain qu'il va déboucher vers des conclusions et des recommandations qui seront utiles pour les pays qui sont concernés par le conflit de l'eau et je souhaite plein succès à ce panel. Merci de votre attention.
I thank the representative and Minister Delegate of Morocco for her statement, and now would like to invite His Excellency Yerlan Nazarbayev, who is here in Geneva as a panelist, but also as Vice Minister of Agriculture of the Republic of Kazakhstan. Please, Excellency, you have the floor.
Спасибо. Уважаемые дамы и господа, уважаемые участники совещания, позвольте выразить от имени правительства Республики Казахстан и от себя лично искреннюю признательность правительству Швейцарии за приглашение принять участие на данном мероприятии. Как известно, водные ресурсы – это возобновляемый вместе с тем органичный и уязвимый природный ресурс, от которого напрямую зависит социально-экономическое развитие и экологическая безопасность любого государства. В мире с каждым годом спрос на водные ресурсы непрерывно растут. Удовлетворение потребностей населения и отраслей экономики в воде, прежде всего в бассейнах трансграничных рек, становится все сложнее. И в этом отношении для нашего региона данная проблема не исключение. Половина поверхностных водных ресурсов Республики Казахстан поступает с территории сопредельных государств Китай, Россия, Киргизия, Узбекистан. В этой связи Казахстан уделяет особое внимание вопросам сотрудничества с соседними странами в сфере трансграничных рек. Со всеми соседними государствами имеется соглашение по трансграничному сотрудничеству, созданы межправительственные комиссии, заседания которых проводятся ежегодно на постоянной основе. Необходимо отметить, что в наших странах проблемы водопользования в бассейнах трансграничных рек имеют достаточно схожий характер, что дает возможность выработать унифицированные подходы к их решению. В взаимоотношениях между Казахстаном и сопредельными странами существует большой потенциал, который необходимо совместно и эффективно реализовывать. Решение проблем воды в будущем должно основываться на ряде приоритетов, выдвигаемых международным сообществом. Они отражены в докладе Организации Объединенных Наций на встрече зеленой экономики, пути к устойчивому развитию и искоренению бедности, подготовленному к Всемирному саммиту Рио+20 в 2012 году, идеи конференции ООН по устойчивому развитию в Рио-де-Жанейро 1992 года и в Йоханнесбурге 2002 года. Также положены в основу зеленой экономики, который предполагает рост инвестиций, прежде всего природный и человеческий капитал. Зеленая экономика также создает возможности для решения водных проблем, в том числе в бассейнах трансграничных рек. Также зеленая экономика в области рационального использования и охраны вод предполагает укрепление сотрудничества стран бассейна трансграничной реки, основанного на международно-правовых нормах, рекомендациях международных организаций. Казахстан выступает за всестороннее изучение и применение международного опыта и международного водного права. Мы убеждены, что только на основе общности правовых позиций, взаимного соблюдения интересов всех стран трансграничного бассейна возможно обеспечение региональной стабильности, экологической устойчивости, решение проблем совместного управления и охраны трансграничных рек. В этой связи считаю, что те цели, которые преследует группа высокого уровня по воде и миру, позволят использовать водные ресурсы как инструмента для мира и интеграции. В заключение хочу пожелать всем своим коллегам по группе плодотворной работы во имя мира и благосостояния всех народов. Спасибо.
I thank His Excellency and representative of Kazakhstan for his intervention. I will now invite the representative of Cambodia, His Excellency Torchita, Secretary of State of the Ministry of Water and Meteorology, to address the audience. Thank you.
Good morning. Mr. Michel Møller, Mr. Michel Jarraud, distinguished delegate, ladies and gentlemen. It is my second time to be here after first meeting in May 2015. I'm really delighted and honored to have been invited as a panelist on behalf of Minister of Water Resources and Meteorology of the Royal Government of Cambodia for the official launch of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace be held today. Cambodia is a developing country where plenty of water have been being used as and shared with neighborhood countries, Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, PDO. 16% of Mekong River contribute much value to the Kingdom of Cambodia and proper to both people well-being and economic value in terms of agriculture and related resources from the Mekong and the Lesap lake. Our traditional state that no water, it means no life. I would also like to take this opportunity to express my honest impression and strong support on behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia and Minister of Water Resources and Meteorology on this global high-level panel. This meeting has brought together multilateral partners from different eagles of the world who work related to water and peace in order to share interests and best practice for better water promotion and cooperation. Once again, I would like to reiterate the state and commitment of the Royal of Cambodia to participate in this high-level meeting, and Cambodia is really enjoyable to share water-related experience and stand boundary water management to resolve the global conflict in water and peace, so that a set of proposals aiming to strengthen water achievement and water relations would become highly cherished in the government policy nationwide. Last but not least, I would wish all your distinguished ladies and gentlemen a very good health, success, and prosperity, and I also wish to have strong cooperation and collaboration among all stakeholders here. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished representative of Cambodia and now have the pleasure to invite to the floor Her Excellency Ms. Daria Bavdakurit, State Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Slovenia. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Good morning to everybody, Minister, distinguished members of the panel, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies. Let me begin with a story. Sava River Agreement is one of the most successful examples of water as an instrument of maintaining peace and facilitating development. However, the reaching of this agreement between countries that had only a few years ago been involved in a brutal war in Western Balkans was not easy. Negotiations were initially slow, hindered by mistrust and bogged down by certain challenges that arose with the breakup of ex-Yugoslavia. Language was a particularly sensitive issue. What was once called a Serbo-Croatian language had split into 3 different languages: Serbian, Croatian, and Bosniak. Even though the words were still understood by all, translation was a political sensitive necessity. This produced many challenges and drew the focus away from the key issues. At one point, frustration led to a call by the chair that everybody start speaking the same language. Of course, this provoked the inevitable question, what language should this be? Obviously, nobody wanted to say Serbo-Croatian. The firm answer was Sava language. Talks then resumed in so-called Sava language, and eventually countries found common ground. Sava language is for us a reminder of a power of a shared vision. It is this notion of a shared vision that also drives our commitment to this global high-level panel. Slovenia is more than willing to share our experience and practices on the cross-border cooperation in water management. However, we hope that the key lessons learned that we can contribute to this panel is the importance of high-level political commitment. Our key challenge will therefore be to mobilize political will on all levels. Slovenia believes the potential of this lies in Agenda 2030 and implementation of SDGs. It also includes respect for human rights, particularly the right to water and sanitation, as well as recognizing the nexus between environmental issues and the enjoyment of realization of the human rights. To effectively implement a common vision, appropriate international legal instruments are also important. Slovenia is ready to demonstrate its commitment to the work of the global high-level panel. We will continue to give prominence to the water-related issues, and we are looking forward to our engagement with the panel. Slovenia will advocate and help to mobilize support for its mandate. I would like to thank also the convening country, the Swiss Confederation, for this initiative. And finally, let me congratulate to the Global High-Level Panel, especially our former president, Dr. Danilo Türk, and wish every success for the work. Thank you very much.
I thank Secretary of State and the distinguished representative of Slovenia for her intervention, and now pass the floor to His Excellency Pablo Saavedra, State Secretary for Environmental Affairs of Spain. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Ministro Didier Burkhalter, autoridades, señoras, señores, muy buenos días a todos. Me gustaría, antes de empezar, expresar la solidaridad y las condolencias del Gobierno español con el Gobierno y el pueblo francés por los recientes atentados de París. Quisiera agradecer al Gobierno de Suiza su amable invitación para participar en este lanzamiento del panel sobre agua y paz. Estamos convencidos de que esta iniciativa va a ayudar a la comunidad internacional a avanzar en la prevención y resolución de los conflictos relacionados con el agua y fortalecerá su presencia en la agenda política mundial, donde los temas del agua ya están ganando protagonismo a medida que lo hace la amenaza del cambio climático. Y tras la aprobación de la Agenda 2030 de Naciones Unidas y el reconocimiento de un objetivo de desarrollo sostenible específico en materia de agua. El Gobierno de España quiere renovar su apuesta por la cooperación transfronteriza como medio para prevenir y resolver conflictos con más fuerza ahora, si cabe, como miembros del Consejo de Seguridad de Naciones Unidas. España puede contribuir significativamente a esta iniciativa, en particular aportando nuestra experiencia nacida de nuestra capacidad para adaptarnos a un entorno de escasez crónica y distribución irregular y desigual del agua, donde oferta y demanda a menudo no coinciden. Y logramos esa adaptación gracias a nuestro sistema de gobernanza, que encuentra sus pilares en la planificación por cuencas hidrográficas y en las infraestructuras hidráulicas. A partir de ese modelo, estamos abasteciendo con garantía a 45 millones de habitantes y a más de 60 millones de turistas. Regamos 3,5 millones de hectáreas y generamos el mayor volumen de energía hidroeléctrica de la Unión Europea. Además, tenemos una amplia experiencia en colaboración internacional y en la gestión compartida del agua. No en vano, llevamos a cabo con Portugal, a través del convenio de Albufeira y de conformidad con la Directiva Marco del Agua, la gestión de los ríos que nuestros países comparten. Esto nos permite utilizar de forma conjunta la energía hidroeléctrica, compartir objetivos ambientales para las masas de agua o diseñar sistemas conjuntos de vigilancia de la contaminación. Por otra parte, sabemos que disponer de agua suficiente y segura es básico para el crecimiento de un país y que para los ciudadanos poder acceder al agua y al saneamiento es una cuestión de dignidad y de derechos humanos. Por eso estamos comprometidos con la aplicación efectiva del derecho humano al agua y al saneamiento reconocido por Naciones Unidas. El agua es un componente clave en la cooperación económica, política y técnica de España con terceros países, centrada en mejorar los sistemas de gobernanza del agua mediante el fortalecimiento de la capacitación institucional y administrativa de los gestores de los recursos hídricos. Un enfoque presente en las iniciativas que España lidera en el ámbito de la colaboración técnica internacional en materia de agua, como son la Estrategia del Agua para el Mediterráneo Occidental, a través del diálogo 5+5, o la Conferencia Iberoamericana de Directores del Agua. La buena gobernanza a nivel doméstico es el primer paso para prevenir conflictos dentro y fuera de las fronteras de cada país. Permite hacer efectiva la seguridad hídrica, alimentaria, energética y también la seguridad de las personas y la del medio ambiente, combinándola con la cooperación transfronteriza. Me gustaría, antes de acabar, resumir las áreas en las que España puede aportar su experiencia al trabajo de este panel. La mencionada gobernanza del agua y su gestión en entornos de escasez, la importancia de vincular cooperación transfronteriza con planificación conjunta de las cuencas compartidas, el intercambio de experiencias mediante redes regionales, una gestión del agua respetuosa con el medio ambiente y orientada a las necesidades de adaptación que demanda el cambio climático y promover la participación del sector privado en las respuestas técnicas y financieras de los retos de la gestión del agua. En definitiva, creemos que existen numerosos mecanismos que pueden convertir el agua en un instrumento para la promoción de la paz. El trabajo de este panel, sin duda, va a ofrecer resultados y va a abrir nuevos horizontes de cooperación que podemos conocer y aplicar todos en un futuro próximo. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Spain for his statement. I have now 4 more delegations on my list and will proceed by giving the floor to His Excellency Harry Leaf, Deputy State Secretary of the Ministry of Environment of Estonia.
Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, as we know, water is essential to life and economy. We need to handle our water with a great care and with the involvement of relevant partners in a more peaceful way to avoid long debates or even conflicts on that issue. Taking into account continuous population growth, socio-economic development and climate change over the next few decades, we have tasked to act immediately and find some more practical aspects and recommendations in water cooperation. It is especially important when we need to use transboundary waters. That's our experience. Although shared waters have spawned conflicts, they also present opportunities for benefits. In recent decades, water has more often than not been a bridging resource. Here, I would like to stress as example an important work within the framework of Water Convention, where we elaborated a policy guidance note on benefits of transboundary water cooperation. This policy guidance note offers practical and accessible step-by-step advice for policymakers and other actors to enable them to assess the full range of the potential benefits of transboundary water cooperation, including benefits for peace and security. Evidently, improved water management provides a large number of direct economic, environment, social, peace and security benefits. These include, for example, increased agricultural yield and energy production, improvement in the habitat of many species, preserving traditional cultures, enabling recreational opportunities, improved access to water service, and even saving lives by providing against water-related diseases and water pollution. But not less importantly, improved water management
provides a larger and long-term benefits like increased geopolitical stability and strengthened diplomatic relations, new opportunities from increased trust, reduced risk, and avoided costs of conflicts and creation of the shared basin identity. Here, Estonia, I believe, are good examples to share also during the panel. Therefore, it is utmost important to develop a more far-reaching and comprehensive cooperation in the management of water and unite people across borders in order to determine new potential benefits and expand existing activities for greater prosperity of those regions. I wish here for successful work for panel. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Estonia for his intervention and would now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Christoph Althues, Deputy State Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Chair, thank you very much. Federal Councillor, Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking the Swiss government for the wonderful initiative and also the generous hospitality, as well as the initiative called to life, the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace. I believe the proposal and also the huge amount of participants being present here today clearly reflects the strong commitment of ours towards the topic. If you allow me at the beginning, I would recall that Switzerland, together with Hungary, is in a group that is a member of the steering committee of Friends of Water in New York, a group that is clearly devoted to water. And as we all know, without water, there is no life. Without water, there is no human civilization. We could also add, of course, that without a suitable amount of healthy water, there is no sustainable development. Without adequate amount of safe water and without safe sanitation, there is no sustainable peace. So when we talk about water, we are actually talking about our common future, the future of the continent and the future of the world. As time goes by, mutual dependencies will increase. Since regions and sectors are exposed to water shortage, and each and every country rely more and more on water that is controlled by others, controlled by other countries. Water must therefore be treated as a high political priority at all levels of government, and it should be integrated into other relevant policy areas as well. As a conclusion, water therefore must be turned into a medium of cooperation. In only 10 years' time, close to 2 billion people will be living in water-stressed areas. Already 40% of the population will receive their daily amount of water from transboundary river basins and aquifers. We have already seen that the competition has started. It is no coincidence that this year, the report of the World Economic Forum names the water crisis as the largest risk threatening the world today. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is not war, it is not weapons of mass destruction, it is the looming water crisis that threatens our continent, that threatens our world on a long run. Within this context, I would also like to stress the importance of international treaties. Treaties and conventions, these are the ones that we should not shy away from, referring back to these treaties even though some countries may have particular reservations. Water conventions have been crucial. They have been means to establish, sustaining, and supporting long-term transboundary cooperation. In an increasingly water-scarce world, access to fresh water is a potentially source of violent conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, with 96% of Hungary's surface waters arriving from abroad, international water cooperation is an eminent national security. 700 settlements, 2.5 million people, 40% of the country's agricultural land, 2,000 industrial plants, indirectly about 30% of the nation's GDP are potentially affected by floods originating beyond the country's borders. And it seems that with climate change and the probability of flooding is on the rise. We are all aware that the role of water, climate change, as well as the significance of adaptation capabilities in appropriate water management will be considered in a few days' time in Paris at COP21. For all these reasons, Hungary has been and continues to be a pioneer of international water cooperation, both in the region and at global level. Hungary sees water as an integral part of global sustainable development policy. In this spirit, we have organized the 2013 Budapest Water Summit that was a major milestone of to forge international policies and also to find consensus. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the complexity of the issue is well formulated by the former President of the United States of America, John F. Kennedy. Quotation, "Anyone who can solve the problems of water will be worthy of 2 Nobel Prizes, one for peace and one for science." Thank you very much for your attention.
I thank the distinguished representative of Hungary and now have the pleasure to invite Her Excellency, Mrs. Beatriz Doño Soto, Permanent Representative of Colombia to the United Nations in Geneva. Excellency, you have the floor.
In the very first place, the Colombian government really rejects what happened in Paris, and we express our solidarity to the French people and the government of France. Mr. Didier Burkhalter, Federal Councillor and Head of the Department of Foreign Affairs of Switzerland, Mr. Michael Møller, Director General in Geneva of the UN, Michel Jarraud, UN Water, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. The government of Colombia would like to thank the Swiss government, and particularly the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Swiss expert, François Møller, for his leadership and the formidable commitment to water around the world. This initiative of the high-level panel on water is more than welcome. And my country considers that this is a wonderful space for dialogue, debate, and exchange at the highest level, which aims to consider and make concrete, I underline, concrete recommendations on a global matter of the highest relevance, and it relates to a crucial environment resource with close relation to human welfare and productive activities everywhere. Colombia is one of the most vulnerable countries in terms of climate change, but is also a very privileged country in terms of water resources. We count now with a national policy for water resource integrated management. This national policy promotes the efficient and effective use of the resource, land use planning, and the conservation of the ecosystems that regulate water supply. The policy also includes water conflict as one of the components related to water management, taking into account the need to intensify training activities on the matter from early childhood up to the elderly. Among other steps, needs to be implemented to transform and to prevent conflicts that can emerge from water management that are present in many parts of the world and in some regions in my own country. Additionally, conflicts are identified as key elements to be considered in spatial and water planning processes. Regarding the service provision, the government view and actions at regionalization and implementation of measures to minimize the gap between the urban and rural areas, where the gap is enormous. We see the panel as a good opportunity, as well as significant responsibility to influence the existing global architecture on water and conflict. And we also see it as a window of opportunity to cooperation, and we enhance and we foster and promote, and we would like to see more trilateral cooperation in terms of water, especially from countries in the south and from countries with a good experience in the north. The government of Colombia wishes the panel the greatest success and trusts that the recommendation by it and the remarkable experts that are members of it will be the highest quality and will contribute to strengthening the world approach to water and peace, taking into consideration through the whole debate our agenda for 2030, what we already incorporated in our national development plan. I wish you, to the panelists, the best for these deliberations, and we hope that the results are positive, not just for Colombia, but for the whole world. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the permanent representative of Colombia for her intervention, and now have the pleasure to invite Her Excellency Mrs. Elaine White, permanent representative of Costa Rica, to address the audience.
Muy buenos días a todos, señor consejero federal Didier Burkhalter, excelencias, distinguidos panelistas, invitados especiales. Permítame en primer término ofrecer las sentidas disculpas del señor ministro de Relaciones Exteriores y Culto de Costa Rica, don Manuel González Sanz, quien no ha podido acudir a esta importante cita hoy día por atender una seria crisis sin precedentes de migrantes en tránsito por nuestro territorio. En su nombre, deseo agradecer y felicitar al Gobierno de Suiza, a los socios institucionales y gobiernos coauspiciadores por su liderazgo en el inicio de este importante proyecto. Costa Rica saluda con entusiasmo esta iniciativa. Mi país se ha reconocido a nivel mundial por su tradición de respeto al medio ambiente. Incluso el derecho a un ambiente sano y ecológicamente equilibrado fue incorporado en la Constitución política, obligando al Estado a procurar una política pública integral con un marco jurídico e institucional de avanzada en temas ambientales, que incluye un régimen normativo e institucional para la gestión del recurso hídrico, las aguas residuales y la energía. Mi país se acerca al 100% de generación eléctrica de fuentes renovables. Por ello coincidimos en la importancia de contar con un marco institucional internacional apropiado para gestionar los asuntos del agua de manera preventiva y con perspectiva de garantizar su acceso a toda la humanidad, libre de todo obstáculo político, económico o militar. El agua es un requisito fundamental para la sobrevivencia, el bienestar y el desarrollo socioeconómico de toda la humanidad, según las propias palabras del exsecretario general de la ONU, Kofi Annan. Aplaudimos el reconocimiento del derecho humano al agua potable y saneamiento realizado en el año 2010 por la Asamblea General de las Naciones Unidas y la adopción de la Agenda 2030 sobre los nuevos objetivos de desarrollo sostenible, con el objetivo 6 de garantizar la disponibilidad y la gestión sostenible del agua y el saneamiento para todos. Pero los desafíos para gestionar el agua como un bien público global son monumentales. Por un lado, sabemos que el fenómeno del cambio climático representa una amenaza para la disponibilidad futura de agua potable, provocada por los cambios en el régimen de precipitaciones y en las temperaturas que provocan sequías más intensas y prolongadas, mientras tormentas tropicales e inundaciones más frecuentes. Sumado a ello, las presiones demográficas de una población mundial que tenderá cada vez más a concentrarse en grandes aglomeraciones urbanas, así como el crecimiento de los conflictos y las tensiones políticas en el mundo, entre otros, nos obligan a revisar la arquitectura internacional para la gestión global y nacional del agua, con perspectiva de futuro y para garantizar la cooperación internacional frente a este vital bien público global. Costa Rica por eso ve con esperanza los trabajos de este panel para desarrollar un conjunto de propuestas destinadas a fortalecer la arquitectura global para prevenir y resolver conflictos relacionados con el agua, con el fin de facilitar la cooperación internacional, así como los procesos de paz, y que colabore estrechamente con otros actores interesados, incluyendo la Organización de las Naciones Unidas, con el apoyo del Geneva Water Hub y el Strategic Foresight Group de la India. Cuentan ustedes con el apoyo decidido de mi país. Les deseamos muchos éxitos en sus labores y deseamos agradecerles por confiar al doctor Álvaro Umaña de Costa Rica la vicepresidencia del panel. Muchas gracias.
I thank the distinguished representative of Costa Rica for her intervention. And by way of concluding this ministerial segment or debate, I would like to invite our partner from the civil society, Sandeep Vaseklar, the president of the Strategic Foresight Group, to address the audience before we immediately proceed to the last musical interlude of Mich Gerber. Please, Sandeep, you have the floor.
Mr. Burkhalter, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this panel is about three things. First and foremost, it is about restoring the spirit of humanity, the spirit of cooperation, and the spirit of mutual understanding in the conduct of world affairs. Sometime back, I heard a story of a small child. His father gave him a word map and tore it into pieces. And he asked him to put together this map. And the 6-year-old child put together the map in hardly 6 minutes. And the father asked, how did you do it? And the child said, behind the picture of the word map, there was a picture of the man. I put together the man, and the word was together again. So this panel is very much about reinstilling the human spirit and cooperation. As we see in the case of religious conflicts, we have something similar happening also in the case of water conflicts. You have religious conflicts because you fight over my religion versus your religion. In the case of water conflict, they often fight over my river section against your river section. In the case of religious conflicts, people die because of deliberate action. In the case of water relations, people die because of deliberate inaction. And so therefore, the first challenge of this panel, the global high-level panel, is how to mobilize the world opinion in favor of a positive action. The second challenge before the global high-level panel on water and peace is to preempt humanitarian crisis, which I suspect will take place in another 10 to 15 years from now, and which will be much, much larger in magnitude than what we are currently seeing in the Middle East and in the flow of people from the Middle East to Europe. Currently, about 320 billion cubic meters of water disappears every year on the net. That's equal to 10 Euphrates rivers, which means currently 10 Euphrates rivers equivalent of water is disappearing. If this continues in another 15 to 20 years, we will have a situation, since 70% of the water worldwide is used for irrigation, we might have a drop, substantial drop in the production of food grains. And you might have many of the countries which are currently self-sufficient in Asia, Middle East, and Africa entering the food market. And my estimate is that we might have a surplus demand or surplus pressure of about 300 million tons in about per year, in addition to what is there today in 15 years' time, which will create a havoc in the food market. And you will have food riots, you will have conflicts. So one of the challenges of this panel is to preempt that kind of a situation. And fortunately for this panel, there are many good examples of cooperation in the management of water resources. There are good principles, there are good laws. So the question is, how do you mobilize these positive instruments, positive laws, to preempt the negative outfall of where the things are going? Finally, the third, the challenge before this panel is how to create peace dividend. Because at the end of the day, it's nice to talk about peace, it's nice to talk about water, But there has to be something concrete for the poorest of the poor people. I'm not talking about people in Europe, I'm not talking about people in North America, but for people in Latin America, people in Middle East, people in Africa, people in Asia, there has to be something concrete. Presently, 2.3 billion people live in the shared river basins of Latin America, Africa, Middle East, and Asia. I'm not counting the people living in the shared river basins of North America and Europe. So 2.3 billion. Their gross economic product is $10 trillion. So the mandate of this panel is about this $10 trillion economy. It's a huge task. Sometime back, Strategic Foresight Group did a study of 148 countries, 205 shared river basins, and found that any two countries which are engaged in active water cooperation do not go to war for other reasons than water. So if the panel succeeds in convincing the whole world to engage in active water cooperation, their propensity to go to war will decline, military expenditure will decline, the cost of investment will decline, and as a result, I expect that about $100 billion of peace dividend will be created every year, which will enable people in the Middle East, Asia, and Africa to double their per capita income in a matter of 5 to 10 years. So ladies and gentlemen, this panel is not just about discourse. Of course, discourse is most important. That is the basis, that's the methodology. But this panel is about bringing about concrete change. And in the end, this panel is about restoring the human spirit in the conduct of world affairs. Because if we put together the man, if we put together the human spirit, the world which is facing crises like the ones we saw last weekend will be together again. Thank you.
Now, against the backdrop of the joint and powerful political, substantive, scientific and artistic declarations of commitment of this morning, I have the distinct pleasure to invite now President Danilo Turk, Chairman of the Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace, his co-chairs and the distinguished panelists to approach the audience to introduce yourselves. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to start this part of our proceedings. At this point, I would like, as chairman of the high-level panel, Global High-Level Panel on Water and Peace, thank the government of Switzerland, in particular Federal Chancellor Didier Burkhalter, for the initiative, together with a number of other member states of the United Nations, and for very serious and hard work which made the beginning of work of this high-level panel possible. I would also like to thank Michel Jarraud for partnership in his capacity as chair of UN Water, and of course Strategic Foresight Group, a well-known think tank from India, for tireless work and great contribution in expert literature which helped the beginning of the work of the panel, and Geneva Water Hub partners with whom Strategic Foresight Group has worked in preparation for the first session. At this point, we are invited to present ourselves, and I would like to start by me and then invite my two vice chairmen and other members of the panel, for each of them to say a few words about their work so far and the expectations. My name is Danilo Turk. I was President of the Republic of Slovenia until 2.5 years ago. And before that, I worked in the United Nations as Assistant Secretary General for Political Affairs and was active on many projects, including those on conflict prevention. And I'm very pleased to have the opportunity and to have been given this special task to chair this important panel. And I would like to invite my vice presidents to speak immediately now.
Merci, Président. C'est Mansour Faye, ministre de l'Hydraulique et de l'Assainissement du Sénégal, le président du Conseil des ministres africains en charge de l'eau et de l'assainissement. Merci.
My name is Alvaro Umaña. I am from Costa Rica, and my academic background is in water quality, and I've had the opportunity to exchange with Switzerland in my academic career. I have also worked extensively at the United Nations as a member of the UNESCO Executive Board, as head of UNDP Energy and Environment Group, and as a member of the World Bank Inspection Panel, and in the board of the International Monetary Fund. I also am interested in economics of sustainable development and sustainability, and I hope we will be able to make some contributions, both technical and political, to convert water into an instrument that connects and not divides people. Thank you very much.
Bonjour, Laurence Boisson-de-Chazouane, je suis professeure à l'Université de Genève et je suis membre du pilier académique, du pôle académique du pôle Eau Genève avec des collègues qui sont dans cette salle. J'ai précédemment j'ai travaillé à la Banque mondiale et j'ai fait beaucoup de soutien, support à la négociation pour la conclusion d'accords sur l'eau dans différentes régions du monde. Je suis conseil auprès d'États et d'organisations internationales. Et l'accent que j'aimerais placer dans le cadre de ce mandat, c'est de vraiment lier l'eau à la paix et à la prévention des conflits.
Меня зовут Ерлан Нысанбаев, я представляю Казахстан, Министерство сельского хозяйства, вице-министр, курирую водный вопрос. Спасибо.
Good morning. Aziz Bouinian. I'm director of a river basin organization in Morocco, and I'm delighted to represent Morocco here and to share some of the experience Morocco has accumulated throughout the years, especially in water management and mobilization of water, and recently by adopting integrated water resource management as an approach to prevent conflicts between the sectors that use water. And also I'm here to confirm the commitment of Morocco to contribute to peace in the world. Thank you very much.
My name is Kieran O'Quinn. I'm Centre Director of MEDREC, a small multilateral international organisation formed in the Middle East peace process with the mandate to find solutions to freshwater scarcity in the Middle East and help the peace process by water cooperation. Prior to that, I worked on the peace process in Ireland with the Irish government.
My name is Pascual Fernandez. I am from Spain. I am Professor of Economy and Chairman of the Madrid Economists Association and former Secretary of State of Water in my country.
Good morning, Excellencies. My name is András Szőlősi Nagy. I'm from Hungary. My life has been shaped by the two best things in the world, academia and the United Nations. I'm a professor of hydrology, and earlier I was serving in UNESCO for 25 years. That shows how resilient the United Nations system is. I served first as the Secretary of the International Hydrological Program for 20 years, and the past 5 years I was Director of the UNESCO IHA Institute for Water Education in Delft in the Netherlands. The expectations we all have is basically to break the deadlock that is still there when it comes to transboundary river basins and aquifers. In 25 years' time, there will be 4 billion human beings who are living in shared water resources and from shared river and aquifer resources. I think it's an ethical mission that we don't let them behind. And that is basically the big driver behind this group. Thank you.
Good morning, distinguished audience. My name is Claudia Mora. I'm from Colombia. As for my academic background, I'm a lawyer. And for my professional background, I was the former Vice Minister of Water and Sanitation, as well as former Vice Minister of Environment, among other work experience on the same ground. When I come to our expectations or the challenges, I think that we have to succeed from learning from the experiences or the mistakes made by previous committees or panels or initiatives, such as the one we are bringing today, move forward in building water in peace. Thank you very much.
My name is Andres Tarand. I have been 30 years in research of climate change included. You have heard today many times in presentations importance of climate change in water and peace questions, and 20 years in politics. I have been in the first Estonian government as a Minister of Environment and a short time as Prime Minister, and after that sitting in Parliament and finishing in the European Parliament in 2009. Now 2 days once more in politics and climate change, taking into account water. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Hammer from Ghana. I'm currently the chairman of the SIC Insurance Board. I used to be the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources and the Minister for Transport. I'm very happy to be here this morning, and I would want to re-echo the sentiments of my minister that Ghana is committed to contributing its quota to the global architecture on water and peace. And as former president of the then Soviet Union said, that water has the potential of moving millions of people. Let us all move it towards the achievement of peace globally. Thank you very much.
Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Frank Gallant. I'm representing France. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for your kind words of compassion and friendship after this terrible event in Paris Friday evening. My background is water industry. I've spent the last 20 years working for Suez. I was vice president in charge of security and crisis response. And during the past 10 years, I've been running an engineering firm I created, which is focused on emergency preparedness and crisis response for water companies and power supply companies. But the reason why I joined the panel is due to my academic background. I am a water researcher, water security researcher at the Strategic Research Foundation in Paris. And my contribution and my expectation in this panel will be focused on the protection of water supply systems during conflict and the way we can use water in peacekeeping operation just after conflict. And as well, of course, how we can use water to prevent conflict. Thank you very much for your attention.
Mr. President, dear co-chairs, distinguished panelists, ministers, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues. Before concluding, I would like to thank you all for assisting this ministerial launch of the Global High-Level Panel of Water and Peace. I do this on behalf of Federal Councillor Didier Burkhalter, on behalf of my colleagues at the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, in particular on behalf of my colleagues at SDC and the Permanent Mission of Switzerland to the UN in Geneva, who have all contributed to organizing this conference and made it possible that we unite today on this very important issue. The presence of ministers, of vice ministers, secretaries, and deputy secretaries of state, and our distinguished panelists are proof of the importance of the initiative, and they are proof of our collective ambition and vision to make water a source of peace and cooperation. Please join me in wishing once more the panel great success in this vital and fascinating endeavor. I wish to seize this opportunity to thank all convening countries and panelists for their continued investment today, but also in the future, and in particular over the next 2 years. Thank you very much. I now invite the panelists and the heads of delegation to gather in front here for a family picture. And right after the picture, the media will have the opportunity to talk to Federal Councillor Didier Burkhalter and the panelists right in this room. So I will ask the media to wait here. I would then ask the panelists and representatives of the co-convening countries to gather around 11:30 in order to transfer to the restaurant Vieux Bois for the scheduled lunch. With this, I wish you bon appétit and a good continuation of your work this afternoon. Thank you very much.